I'm Kevin Price. This is your Price Point edition. I don't know if you know it, but only about half of the population alive today was alive during Watergate, which means there's a huge number of people out there who have no idea what led to the downfall of President Richard Nixon. I was just a little kid when they started talking about Watergate. I thought they meant those big covers, that were on the roads. I don't know if you ever noticed, but on the roads there's those covers there, on the hull for sewer systems, and they said Watergate on it. So what in the world is this scandal going on that's going to bring down our president? Most people don't understand what took place. Let me refresh your memory. So it was 1972, and Richard Nixon, who was on track to be reelected by one of the largest margins of any president in U.S. history, was paranoid, incredibly paranoid. He lost the presidency in 1960, the first time he ran, by the most narrow of margins, simply because, and as a result of that, and many because of those areas he lost was because dead people voting in Texas and places like Chicago, which, is really kind of unethical, let alone odd. And so he was really paranoid in 1972. He wanted to make sure that the Democrats didn't have any sneaky tricks that they were going to use to put him out of office at that time. And so he allowed, now we don't know how much he allowed or how much he was involved, but he allowed for burglars to go into the Watergate Hotel, yes, that's where the name is, Watergate Hotel, to go inside the Democratic National Committee headquarters and snoop around, see what they find out. And people got arrested doing it, and one thing led to another, and next thing you know, you had a president come down. And almost, in fact, if he had not resigned, he more than likely would have been impeached. There seems to be little doubt about it because of the demographic makeup of the House and the Senate and how much both houses were made up of people who couldn't stand Richard Nixon. And he didn't have, frankly, a whole lot of sympathy from the Senate. From Republicans, because he did little to support them in off-year elections. He was pretty much a lone wolf. And it came back to haunt him when Watergate became such a huge issue in 1972. And so as a result of, Watergate, this huge scandal, and it's becoming the scandal of all scandals. Well, what happened? A group of people working for the Committee to Re-elect the President, also known as CREEP, with an acronym like that, they're going to get in trouble. This group goes in and they break into the Democratic headquarters to sneak around to find information out about George McGovern, and really to find out what they're going to do to Richard Nixon. That's the extent of it. This is like the biggest scandal in modern American politics. Think about that, okay? Then you've got a current administration where they illegally send guns to Mexican drug lords that leads to the death of hundreds of Mexican citizens and at least a couple U.S. border guard people, at least a couple that we can document. And this was done ostensibly to track the flow of guns, but many are arguing it was done as for making a case for gun control because of all the chaos that it created. And then you got the same administration actually wiretapping the major media, including the Associated Press, the largest news wire in the world, monitoring what they're communicating to one another. That's being done, by the way, that was being done by the same Justice Department that was in charge of the same gun deal I told you about, known as Fast and Furious. Okay, what else do we have out there? You've got Benghazi. You got a situation with the Benghazi situation where they are told by the White House in a 7 or 8 hour event that takes place, by the way, which a plane could have left the East Coast of the United States and got to Benghazi before the so-called demonstration was over. But they couldn't send a plane from the ocean to come and investigate in this. They couldn't send security to help. Well, now we find out that the White House told the people in the embassy exactly what to state. They created a narrative that they're all saying this isn't true. We're not sure why we were told to say it. Well, they were, of course, told to say it to protect Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. But, who cares about the lost lives of American citizens if it preserves the political reputations of Clinton and Obama? And then you finally have the IRS, a government agency, being used for political purposes to target conservative organizations. Now, which one of these four scandals isn't at least as bad as Watergate? All of them are far, far worse. Yet you have an impotent Republican leadership who continues to whine about what has taken place, but they won't take serious political action. They continue to have these shows where they bring politicians up and they lecture them, but they won't talk impeachment. They need to talk impeachment. They need to talk impeachment now. Who cares if he doesn't get impeached at the end? Every news story needs to be talking about those impeachment hearings. That's my opinion. I'm Kevin Price. I want to remind you to check me out at priceofbusiness.com and usdatareview.com. This is my Price Point Edition.